All righty. So it's another installment of our Accountable After Party. And today I'm with Aaron Barnhill. He's my best bud. As you can see, we're both wearing green today.
Yeah, it's a green day.
We didn't plan it.
We did. I called you. I said, hey, I'm wearing green, wear green so we can coordinate. Remember, I called you 5 a.m.
I didn't get the message.
No, I
didn't.
Kidding.
But, it's perfect because we're talking money today.
Absolutely. You were talking about this earlier before you went on the air that this isn't necessarily the sexiest episode.
No, it's not sexy. It's not dripping with ooze or anything like that because it's about budget.
It's about
city budget.
Accounting.
Yes.
Right, and budgets. But it's funny how you say that it's not sexy or appealing, but it's probably one of the biggest concerns of everyone that lives in Beaumont, right? Every time you hear someone complaining, it's always about this doesn't work or why don't we have this?
Or why they're spending money on this and not spending money on that. So, but did you see my story yet?
I did. I saw it. Okay. I saw it earlier.
So what'd you think about it?
I even wrote some notes. It was it was illuminating in a lot of ways, but it actually left me with a lot more questions.
I guess I didn't do my job then.
No, you did your job. It's just that budgets are so...
Yeah, I know. It can be very complicated. There's a lot of moving parts. And disclaimer, I am not a numbers girl. I was never very good in math. So as soon as I was done with math in high school, you reach your requirements. I think it was like Algebra 2 or something like that.
You just threw it away.
I didn't do it anymore, right? I was more of like the English, the drama girl and all that, theater and all that. So
get out of here.
No, for real.
No, yeah. But it's a couple things really struck me. One thing that you said that I've actually only heard one person say before was the general fund for Beaumont for a year is really, really, really big.
It is.
It's the total fund is $360 million. I think the general fund was $180 million.
Well, you have that in your bank account, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't have...
Money man, Aaron Money Man.
I don't have 120,000 people all the time, so I don't. But I was just curious if you could expound on if you notice what does that really mean? And me, who's someone who's a layman and I don't really understand how budgets work, what does it mean when I hear that the city has $360 million and my toilet can't flush, right? So if the city says, well, that project's going to take $16 million to fix,
right, and
then I'm listening that they have $360 million, my brain can't really square that.
Right, but because most of us, we don't have $300 million in our bank account, right?
No, yeah.
So, listen, city budgets are big and they're complicated. And so, to us, $300 million, that's like, oh, wow, that's a lot of money. And it's a big budget for a city this size, but you have to take into account that budget includes a salary, employees. It includes, you have all these different funds for like water and sewer funds and things of that nature, and just the day-to-day operations of a city. Could you imagine what a light bill is for city buildings?
No, not really. I guess I can't. I guess I'll multiply my light bill by 120,000.
Yeah, so just think about it in that way. I know it's kind of simplified, but the city operates on a very big budget because there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of bills that have to be paid for City of Beaumont, even the size. So just think about it that way. And remember, 20% of that has to be set aside for what's called the rainy day fund, for things that are unexpected. We're prone to hurricanes in this area. Hurricane season is just a couple of days away. So imagine, there has to be some money set aside for rainy day fund as well. Yeah.
What was one of your biggest takeaways from this whole process? And that's what this was. You kind of got an insight into the process, right? While the city's building their budget for the next fiscal year. So, was there anything that really stood out to you? Anything you learned?
My biggest takeaway is I have a lot learned about budgets. Right? Yeah. There's like so much I've been learning about budgets, but the biggest takeaway I would say is that we as taxpayers, we need to be more active and engaged in how our tax dollars are spent. Right? Okay. We rely on the people who we elect to go represent us, but after elections are over, we sort of forget about them. We put them in our back pocket until our toilet won't flush, and we're like, hey, City of Beaumont, fix my toilet, right? We never really...
There was a lot of bluster when the election season happened. Yeah.
We don't stay engaged, but when things start to affect us personally, then we want to know what the heck is going on with my city government, where my money is going. So that's another takeaway, if you want to call it that, is that there's so much going on in city government that we want to trust the people who we elect, of course, but if you don't stay engaged and make sure that they're doing exactly what you elected them to do, then we're on the losing end of that. Because, for instance, when we talk about funding sources, and it's like, I need a whiteboard.
Yeah,
you can bring the whiteboard.
Bring one. Yeah, so everybody listening, we're in a top secret podcast closet.
So
we don't have a lot of stuff.
So what the City of Beaumont has done, it's in the charter, they have to come up with what they call a community investment plan. It's a 5-year plan on how they want to spend your tax dollars. It's all posted online, right? It's all there. But there's a lot of numbers, and when you just looking at a bunch of numbers and you're not understanding what this stuff is, or what's the certificates of obligation, what's general obligations, what are revenue bonds, it can be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the CIP, they have laid out as sort of a guide, right? That City Council, they take a look at this. Some of these things in here we have to do. We know that we have to maintain water and sewer, streets and drainage, employees have to be paid, things of that nature. We have to do it. But then there are some things that are now, extra stuff that we would like to do that would make our city, let's just say, more marketable.
Like facilities, like athletic facilities. Yeah.
Okay, those fall under what's called general obligation or GO bonds. And this makes up about 18% of the funding source of that big pie, 18%. This is the stuff that we get to vote on what we want to see, how we want to use our taxpayer dollars. So these general obligation bonds require voter approval. That's just like 18%, right? All the other things are certificates of obligation and revenue bonds. Don't necessarily need voter approval for that. So we'll just see that, the fees that we pay, the taxes that we pay.
Is it something like if Beaumont builds a project that generates revenue, that doesn't need to be considered, right? Is that?
What are you saying?
I don't know what I'm saying. It's budgets. It's complicated. It's confusing.
I think what you're talking about, there are revenue facility bonds. Cities have used that type of funding source. Let's say we want to build something that they know will generate revenue. Let's just, frank example, and I don't know if a facility...
Like the event center.
Yeah, the event center, right? It generates revenue, right? So that's the category that type of funding source falls under.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just
You're on the money, you got it. So, but anyway, I'm just looking at some things that's in that, what do we call it? The Community Investment Plan.
The CIP.
Oh, you're a good student. This is going to be fun, okay? So some of the things for fiscal year 2026, next year, but remember, next year's budget has to be voted on and approved this year by September. So some of the things are like a $300,000 community park in the South End.
Okay.
Then we have drainage improvements at the Henry Humberg Golf Course at Terra Park, another $300,000.
That was the last accountable, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, and with that accountable, we not only talked about the drainage, but for the next year, this is a 5-year plan, right? So they want to spend on not only the drainage, which is a big part of that, but improving the facilities, adding restrooms and things of that nature. Okay, but remember, these are things that voters have to approve, right?
Right.
In a bond election. Okay, another thing, $107,000 for City Hall, the plaza renovation. You want to see that stuff out there?
I don't.
City Hall.
I personally don't feel like we need a new City Hall.
No.
Oh, it's the plaza between
this
them.
this
the plaza.
Time.
Okay, the plaza.
But a new City Hall is a future possibility.
I heard them talking about that. So,
right. No, but for this time, it's just the plaza area. 107,000.
107,000. That doesn't sound like that sounds like a tiny drop in the bucket for 360 million. So, I don't know.
Okay, I guess it's one of those pieces to downtown development, revitalization.
So I can say that, as I said, I live in Beaumont, full disclosure, so my taxes do that. Have you gone to the Mural Fest?
I have.
The Mural Fest takes place down there, and the courtyard is there. It's more than just a Mural Fest too, so I wouldn't mind that being renovated. I wouldn't mind that. I think it's really important that we have strong civic spaces that we can all share.
But then you have people say, why would we spend money down there? I can't flush my toilet.
People do say that, and I don't know that those are the same thing. But that's what's so confusing
about
it.
It's a different funding source.
It's a different funding. It's a different bucket.
It is.
A different bucket.
Different bucket, okay. $652,000 for Animal Care Services and Adoption Center. Animal lovers would like that, right?
Yeah, I think
we do have a problem.
I think it's
controlled animal population in Beaumont.
I don't know if you saw this today, but peacocks are running loose all over the city.
Is this the same peacock?
No, there's multiple peacocks. So, and if we didn't have,
where are they coming from?
They're coming from citizens' yards who have peacocks. So it's actually peacock.
And can people own peacocks in the city?
I don't know if they're supposed to, but
maybe that's
I don't know if they're supposed to, but they can and they do.
Yeah.
And it's actually peafowl mating season right now. So people think that the peafowl can't fly, but they can fly in short bursts. So they're flying out of their yards and they're going to find
there was a peacock at HEB today.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But if we didn't have animal services, then the peacocks should be running amok.
Maybe we need to hire a peacock catcher, like a dog catcher.
I think
Should they put that in the budget?
I think they're one and the same. I think the dog catchers also catch peacocks.
So the dog catcher has to catch peacocks.
Yeah, I think a dog catcher has to catch everything. So that's a pretty important thing. I'm willing to spend my tax money on a new animal shelter, animal facility.
Okay. Well, maybe we won't have to hire a peacock catcher. We just make a dog catcher catch the peacock, and so that'll save money there, right?
Yeah. But that actually brings me to something I find really interesting. The city did make a publicly available survey for the past, I think, maybe 3 months. It's been on the website, and it just concluded. And one thing I find really interesting is that it's very counter to what my prediction was going to be. My prediction was going to be that everyone that took the survey says, don't raise my taxes by a single cent, by a single penny, because that was one of the options. But the vast majority of people said, I would happily pay $10 more a month for all of these things, like your animal shelters and your plaza cleanups and stuff. And I found that to be really, really interesting.
I think that when people can visualize where the money's going, if it's fully explained to them, I think people are a little bit less uneasy about when you talk about these big multi-million-dollar projects, right? But there's still issues when the city, there are people who said crime's too high.
Yeah.
You know, once again, there's so many problems with drainage, plumbing, sewer
Yeah,
problems.
it's a huge problem in North End,
So,
right?
Yeah, so
It's very hard for
people
someone-
say, I'm living in North End, I don't even go downtown.
Right.
I can't flush my toilet when it rains.
If
So why should it matter to people like that?
Exactly. If that's your problem, you're not really going to worry about
Right.
a pickleball court, for
Right,
instance.
that's on the list. I was just getting there. Did I get there yet?
No, I don't think you did. No.
Yeah, pickleball court for next year, about, let's see what we have here, 300,000? Oh, I need some, my contacts. I need some, I'm starting to do this now.
Starting to, let me just
Yeah.
let me just read my nose a little
Yeah,
bit.
exactly. But yeah, that's on the list for next year. Pickleball courts.
One of the interesting things about Beaumont and the way that the city makes money that people don't really understand, and why should they, is we have an entire department that's just made up to gather hotel fees, which is Beaumont CVB, right? The Convention and Visitors Bureau, their entire job is to collect these fees from hotels, right, and put that into this big fund. One of the biggest draws to the city of Beaumont is athletic tournaments.
Yes.
The softball courts and stuff like that we host.
But mainly, you speak of that, and there was, where is it? I know I talked about this in one of these.
The athletic complex with
I've done how many
the tennis
tournaments?
tournaments?
Like 12?
This is 11 or 12?
A lot
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
So I have all this stuff floating around in my head.
Yeah.
I can't, but I know I did a story about, when we were talking about the water park.
The water park,
That's in here somewhere.
That one I don't understand.
I think that's like year
2029?
28.
28?
I think it's in that year.
It's like a $9
But
million
anyway, we were, yeah.
park?
It was about $9 million, right?
Yeah.
But where are they going to put it? And that's when
So,
we started talking
yeah.
about out there near, the Ford Fields, where they have all the youth baseball games.
Yeah.
And they were talking about expanding those fields as well.
Those diamonds,
Right,
right.
because you can only, those baseball fields out there accommodate the younger
Yeah.
kids, to hit a home
Yeah, it's like a lot
run.
of youth
Yeah,
tournaments.
it's a
stuff.
smaller
It's a
fields,
three-court size. Yeah.
Correct. So in order to accommodate, the bigger kids who are playing competitive baseball and softball and stuff, they need bigger fields.
Right.
So that's how we started talking about the athletic
Yeah,
complex,
complex.
expanding the fields up there and stuff. How do we get to water park?
A draw, CBD.
Yeah,
right,
okay,
the way
no,
that-
but the water park location, there were talks years ago to put something out there near Fort Fields because you have a lot of families and people who come to this area for those youth baseball tournaments, perfect game tournaments, and put a water park out there is perfect
Yeah.
for after baseball games.
That's true. That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Just leave the diamond and hit
and
the
just go
water
right there.
park.
That is true. I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
And and it's hard for you to think of something outside of your experience, right? So I don't have kids, so I'm not thinking about how kids will utilize a water park, and therefore I'm not thinking about why a water park would be important in the
Right.
city budget. And it's really important to keep in mind about
But
these things.
those youth tournaments are big money draw
huge,
to this
yeah.
area. I can't tell you how
Well, because
many.
they're
how much money-
multi-day events,
Yeah, they
so
are.
you have to get a hotel, and then all
You
that
have
money is
to
going
go
to
to restaurants and all that, and my boys, we played baseball
Oh, yeah.
for years, and so we know how much money
It does, yeah.
it costs to do all that. But that's how we came up with the whole water park story and what they should do
Yeah.
and all that. But there is a water park recommendation.
Is there? So we're probably getting ready to wrap up. But is there anything else in the budget you discovered?
I discovered that it takes about 6 to 8 months just to put it together.
Just to compile.
And
the list.
remember, these things are only proposals
Right.
that are going to be up for vote. There's a committee. Each ward has members, from that ward that's a part of that advisory board. Say, no, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Voters to vote on that. The voters will have an itemized list of things that they can vote for on the ballot. It just won't be one big package.
Right. You can pick and choose.
You can
Say this is not
choose.
important. This is important.
Just like sometimes you want mashed potatoes, not the corn. You can add the fried okra. Do you do that sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes. I do
Yeah.
that. Would that blow up anybody's face if there's only 2 out of 10 people saying I want my toilet fixed, and there's 8 out of 10 people saying I'd rather have a water park? Does that mean that the water park gets made and the toilets don't get fixed?
That's a different.
a whole different- it's a whole different
source.
funding.
Yeah,
A whole
I can
different
understand the psychology behind
Yeah.
that because how can you sell a water park
Right.
when people can't flush their toilets?
So I think the main takeaway from this is budgets are confusing.
Yeah.
There's different baskets, different funding, and you have to really pay attention. You have to really get involved.
Yeah,
Right.
and I prefer fried okra to corn.
I do not like okra.
Let me
So.
see what your mashed potatoes.
Yeah, that's true.
So good.
But I think I appreciate everything that I just learned.
Yeah, well, there's a lot more.
I'm sure this seems like your accountability segment this week seemed almost just kind of like an introduction or a lining out of how the process starts, not
Exactly.
ends. Right.
And it's like you got people in, the city manager's office. You think about people who do budgets. They're like, all day.
Yeah, of course.
That's not fun to me.
No, it's not. No, I didn't do any math after school either, so I know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean.
Yeah, but I have another one coming up next week.
What's next week?
It's a good one.
What is it?
Let's just say I will be in Nederland.
Oh, accountability and needling. You're getting out of Beaumont. Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see you spread wings.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Well, that's going to be a tease, and I think with that we're going to sign out. So
Okay, it's been great. Till we meet again.
awesome. Yeah, a lot better than speaking the void, huh?
Yes.
So I noticed a few things that I could change off the bat. I need this camera to be over here.
Okay.
Because we're like looking away from each other. And I don't like the way that looks. So just a few things.
Yeah.
But that was pretty fun. Huh? that was pretty fun.
Well, we can have a party.
It gets easier and easier.
We'll get it together and
Yeah.
more resources to
We
make
need some fake plants or something like that.
Yeah.
You need something that's light that you can carry in and kind of make it look, make it yours. Just something to just go behind you that's peeking out, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, or we can do a green screen too. I could pop a green screen up behind you and we could do digital backgrounds if you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I like green screens, but I kind of don't. Depends. It's like we try to pull off.